Okay, I have now become hands-free. I invested in a tripod and a camera holder, so I get to move around a little freer and a little more natural without having to hold one hand out, always holding the camera. Okay, so I was thinking about contractors and working with contractors, and so I wanted to make this video real quick because it's important. If somebody's if you're gonna do flipping, invest in real estate, you've got to know how to work with contractors, but you also have to know how to watch contractors. Okay, it's very important. So I wanted to give an example. Let me open this door, see if some of the little bit of the echo goes away there. So I wanted to give an example of what I'm talking about, and I'm shooting up toward the ceiling right now because what I want to do is I want to show you this area up here on the ceiling. So this isn't the house, but it was very similar to this. It was next to a wall, and we had an area right here. Okay, so it was about a 2.5 foot swath, and it ran all the way back, all the way down the room to the other wall, right? And all the way up like this. Well, it had a slight dip in it, you know? So it was a crown, but you know, in reverse, like a dip. And it was very difficult to see because it wasn't discolored. It was like, wait, you look up and you're like looking and you go, wait, do I see is there a variation there? I mean, that's how subtle it was, but it was so difficult to see because of the lighting, right? So anyway, so it turns out that I managed a project for a friend of mine, and it was a couple of hours drive away. And so I kind of had a general contractor guy that he was referring me people, and he was somewhat like the general, but in reality, I was the general, and I was hiring the different tradesmen and managing the rehab for her. And so anyways, the roof had a leak, and it happened to be directly above that was where the roof was leaking, right? And it must have been leaking for years, who knows? But anyways, okay, so let me get down to it. We hired a drywall. The house needed a lot of drywall work, so we hired a drywall guy to come and fix this. So he started working. Now, keep in mind, I don't know the guy. He was just a referral from this other contractor that I had working on the job. Okay, so I show up, and him and his crew, it's got him and 3 guys, they were already there for, you know, whatever, hour and a half. And they were banging it out. They were really going to town, right? They were scraping, they were putting mud on the ceiling, starting the ceiling, then they were supposed to do the walls, right? So I come in and I look at it, and I specifically told him, I think I told him, but I definitely told the contractor that hired him, I said, look, I want that piece of drywall cut out and replaced, right? Put a new piece and then float it, right? So I get there and I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, this guy's taking a shortcut. So you gotta be really, really careful. And it's a good idea. Okay, so over time, when you work with different contractors, when they get to know you and you get to know them, or you hire them repeatedly, they're gonna know exactly what you want. And they're not gonna take any shortcuts. But if you hire somebody brand new, who he thinks that's it, he's just gonna do this one job and never see you again, then he could possibly take shortcuts. So you really gotta watch it and call them on their crap. Okay, so just to put it the way it is, you gotta call them on their shit when they do stuff. So anyways, I walk into this house, and what happened was I looked up the ceiling and I'm thinking, wait a minute. I said, did you just float that with mud on either side? Or did you replace it? And he's like, oh, just, you know, it's done. We fixed it and it's done and, you know, it's good, whatever, right? I'm like, wait a minute. I'm looking at it, you know, and I go, no. I go, that's not what I wanted. I wanted that piece cut out and replaced, right? Now this guy's already got drywall loaded into the house that he brought out of his van or his truck, and he's already got like 8 sheets of drywall here. He was gonna use them around different parts of the house, whatever. So anyway, so here's the deal. So he just looked at me and gave me this stupid look, right? And I'm like, okay, do you have a level? And he's like, no, I don't have a level. And I'm like, you don't have a level. You're a drywall contractor and you don't have a level. He says, no, I don't have one. He just looks at me like this obstinate look, right? I said, okay, it's all right. You know what? Because I have one in my truck. Let me go get it. So I run out to my truck. I get my level. And I get like a 4 or 5 foot level with me. And I used his little ladder thing that he had there. And I got up on the ladder and I held the level up to the, you know, crown or the dip, and sure enough, he didn't fix it, right? And I'm going to show you on the wall here. I made a little line here, if you can see this. So there's our little dip. And what you do, just so you know, is you take your level and you hold your level along what you think is the lowest part of the dip, right? And then at the far end of the dip, at this end here, this space and this space, that's how, but this has to be level, okay? You can't hold it like that up on this side and say, oh, look how much it's off by. No, you have to hold it at what you think is the crown peak right here, and then go like, hold it level, and this distance is how much your dip is, right there. That distance right there, and that distance from the line to the level. You see that? I know it's not too clear, but I'm writing on my wall here with pencil, so it'll come off. But anyways, so that's how you determine it. So I did this in front of him, and I said, look, I said, you didn't replace it. He just put a bunch of mud in here, right? He put a bunch of mud in here and tried to feather it way out, right? In hoping that I wouldn't notice. I tell you, sometimes. So anyways, I mean, this is a job. His particular quote was like $2,500 or something. He was going to do the whole house. It was a little 1,000 square foot, 2-bedroom house, right? But still, it's $2,500. I'm not paying $2,500 for a half-assed job. I want the job done right. It would have only taken him a few minutes to do that ceiling. He knows how to do it. Boom, he could whack that out. Literally 15 minutes, he would have that cut out and replaced, and then he can just go to town, right? I don't know why he didn't want to do it. So anyways, I go, no, I want that done the right way, whatever. So he just looks at me, and he says something to his guys in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. I understand a few words, but I'm not fluent. And so he speaks to his guys in Spanish, and next thing I know, he starts loading all of his equipment, and he starts taking all the drywall out. And I knew what he was doing. He was walking off the job because he was so pissed off at me that I called him. I called him on his crappy work that he tried to get away with. And here's the thing: you got to remember, when you go to resell the property, the buyers and the buyer's inspector or whatever, you got to assume they're going to notice this stuff, and they're going to notice this shoddy workmanship. And if you want to top dollar for your rehab flip, which is exactly what we want, then the workmanship has to be, top notch. And you got to tell your guys. I tell my guys this. I said, look, you're part of the team. Okay, you're part of me. You're part of my team. The investor. We are a team together, right? Escrow's part of the team. Title's part of the team. We're all part of the team to accomplish the goal, cross the finish line, flip this house for, obviously top dollar, right? Because that's what we always ask. We always ask top dollar when we get done with the houses. So bottom line is, you got to watch your contractors very carefully. Sometimes you got to make sure they're doing the work correctly, and especially with just workers, laborers, or friends. Let's say you hire friends or neighbors that are out of work, because I do this all the time. I hire young people, I hire middle-aged people, I hire older people. If I see they need work, I'll hire them. I've been doing this for years and years and years. Did it in my previous business too. And most of them are really, really appreciative of the work that I give them. But you got to watch it, because sometimes you'll get some that are lazy and they take shortcuts. I had, for example, one guy that I hired in this house, and I hired him to paint a cupboard. I only gave him certain things to do because I didn't know how good of a painter he was. So just as an example, he painted over a little round thing about that big, right? And I saw it afterwards, and it was on a flat surface, right? You open the doors were off, as a matter of fact. So here we are, we're looking at the shelves, this little cupboard, linen cupboard. And on the bottom shelf, which is about this level, I'm looking right at it, and I'm thinking, what the heck, what is this, And I called him, I said, what is this? He says, oh, I don't know. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, it looks like a button to me, It looks like just a button sitting there. It's about the size of a button, about the thickness of a button, right? So I just got my knife or the back of the pencil or something, and I just tapped it and pushed it. It just popped right off. And sure enough, it was a button. And he just painted right over it. He didn't try to get it off himself. He didn't call me and say, hey, what do you want me to do with this or whatever. He didn't do that. He just painted right over it. So needless to say, I did not bring him back anymore. Because you can't have people working on the job. You can try to communicate with them. Hey, look, I don't need you to come here just for the hourly wage. I need you to be part of the team. I need you to care about the job, how it comes out, and what we're doing here, right? And generally, by the way, when I pay somebody, I pay them pretty good. I don't pay them minimum wage. I don't pay them even day worker wage. I pay them pretty good. I pay them above normal. So I expect above normal work and caring. So so you got to watch your people when you hire people, when you're doing these flips. It's just part of the territory. So I thought I would say that because it's another thing that you've got to know. You've got to know, otherwise you're going to pay double. You're going to pay another contractor to go back and fix the first guy's work, and basically he'll have to redo the whole thing if the first guy didn't do it right. So there you go. It's not a real cheery tip, but there's the tip for today. Okay, it's part of the job. All right.